call to order the CCS Database Management Advisory Group meeting for December 17th, 2025. And I will let Deborah take roll call.
Kelly?
Here.
Sam?
Here.
Leslie?
Here.
Georgia?
Here.
Jessica?
Here.
Kate?
Present.
Carly?
Here.
Anastasia?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
And then from CCS, we have Deborah Wishmeyer and Mieko Fujira-Landers.
All right. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the November 11th, 2025 meeting, so from last month. I looked over the minutes. Everything looked in order. If anyone else had any comments or questions about the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
All right, so Mark will make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Kate will second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone against say nay. All right, then the minutes are approved. So then we have a lot on our agenda for all the changes for BiblioCore. I'll kind of introduce the item, but then Deborah or Mieko will kind of delve into the information that they gave us. They did a great job of laying everything out for us, so we all know what some background of what we are discussing. So at that time, they'll kind of just go over everything, and then we'll open up the floor to any questions or concerns and discussion before we go ahead and make any motions. So our first item on the agenda is the decision on BiblioCore due date displays.
So I'm going to just kind of review each topic. So how I'm thinking about doing this, I'm going to share my screen. I prepared a few slides. We just kind of run through the background and information about the topic, and then I will turn it back to Leslie for discussion. So let me share my screen here. Okay. And get the slideshow going. Okay. So first topic, as Leslie mentioned, decision on the BiblioCore due date display. So some background on this topic. BiblioCore offers the option to display the due date of checked out items, and this will appear when a user is looking at the title's availability details view. So this is just where the user clicks in to see the details of an individual copies on a title. While this display can be configured by site, CCS recommends either displaying or suppressing the feature at the system level for a consistent patron experience. So looking at our libraries who currently use BiblioCore, Evanston currently displays due dates. Glenview Public Library does not. So the Power Pack right now, Power Pack does not display due dates. We never have done any kind of user testing on this. We don't really have information that we can reference for what should we do. Deborah polled the past technical group at the recent December 11th meeting, and the majority of attendees responded that we should not display due dates. So some comments for displaying in favor of displaying due dates was that it would be helpful for knowing what to expect with non-holdable items. So things like popular picks or lucky day materials. And then responses against displaying due date included comments that the patron may assume an item will become available on the date it's due, and they could become upset if it ends up not being available. And then it doesn't account for the human element. So someone might return it early, they could lose it, it could be renewed. When researching this topic, we did take a look at other Illinois catalog consortia and some area standalone libraries to see what they do. Most Illinois catalog consortia do not display due dates. So SHARE was the only Illinois consortium that does, while a number of area standalone libraries do display due dates. So a list of the sites that we looked at was included in the packet. So that is the background information that we have. I am going to stop sharing my screen during the discussion point, but I'm more than happy to pull the slides back up if we need. So I will turn it back to Leslie.
Thank you. Anyone have anything they want to add to the discussion regarding the due date display?
I just wanted to add, as the library that does have it here at Evanston, it does, like you say, cause some confusion or expectations where people will see like, oh, it was due back November 15th. Where is it? And I'm like, assumably the person still has it because we don't have overdue fines. So when it's due and when it gets returned can often be two very different dates.
So, Leslie, I originally was like, yeah, give people more information, but I asked all of my public service staff because, and I know that this used to be an issue when I was a children's manager, and they are all in favor of not showing the due dates. So I'm going with what my staff are recommending, is how I'm going to vote. But I am curious because SHARE is the southern half of the state. That's a significant number of libraries. I know we're deciding today. I would love to, for a future user testing, see like how much of because I think anecdotally we can all say like, yeah, it's really annoying and patrons don't know. Are the people looking for this information our super users? Is it general users? Because I think if it's our super users, they tend to be a little bit more savvy and it feels like we could educate them more. But if it's just general users, then that is not the case. So I guess I would love to, if this decision were to come back around again, to know and have some testing to see what is like, what do we feel is true? Is that true? Is it, and either validate like, yes, it is 100% true, or find out like, oh no, it just feels really aggravating when we have to tell someone, sorry, that isn't here. So I guess that's my request to maybe put that as a future thing, which is obviously going to be a low priority if we all vote to not show it.
My opinion on the matter is, data and information's good, but what is the meaning? I don't want to jump ahead to like the holds queue and everything, but it's not really reflective of the whole picture. So I just think that's going to cause more confusion for patrons. And I do agree with, patrons are going to have expectations then that, I'm going to come to the library on January 15th and I'm going to pick this book up because that's the due date and we can't control when someone's supposed to return it, even though we hope they return it in time. But I just think that that picture can't match reality and that just causes frustration for patrons.
I will say before Palatine joined CCS in 2020, we did display the due date, and that's something the super users said they missed. I think it helped people monitor their queues so they could be like, I want this book to become available around then. So we have had people say they miss it, but on the other hand, we have people now who are like, it says checked out, what does this mean? And you have to explain it to them. The other way, you'll still have to explain it to them, like, it said it was due back November 15th. Why isn't it here? So you're going to have to explain it to somebody at some point. I don't think there's a perfect solution for everybody.
I think that's a really good point that like, yeah, you're still going to get people saying like, well, when is this due? What does it mean it's checked out? And that's still a thing that also happens.
I think another point too is those super users have relationships, with staff. They're going to come to the desk and ask. So I'd rather have a staff or a patron come up to the desk and say, what number am I on the holds queue? Okay, well, in the system it's saying 250, but if you look at Park Ridge copies, then maybe you're really number 2. So I rather them have that conversation with staff to really get more accurate information versus just assuming they're going to know what that means in the I don't call it power pack, but the catalog. So
Anastasia, I can't wait till we get to the hold discussion because I'm like, wait, do you guys tell people? Because we tell everyone do not release because it's too hard. Like, so we don't release hold information, full stop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we do a little bit, but I mean, I feel like it's a training opportunity, and I mean, yeah, but it's it's complicated too, because you have to make sure you train them to look at a few pieces of data, but yeah.
Does anyone here feel strongly that we should display due date?
It doesn't seem like
I'm
it.
seeing lots of head shakes.
I feel like
I did, but have been. Yeah, I did, but have been reinformed by my staff.
I think it sounds like pretty much it just it's not rooted in reality, and there's a lot of interpretation that needs to go along with the data. So that would make it difficult to just have it out there without any explainer for patrons. So it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page, unless, as Deborah said, if there's someone who has the opposite feeling, we could move ahead with a motion. And I believe the recommended motion was in there. Is there a motion to require to not enable due date display in BiblioCore?
Can we add a little bit to that to say as a consortium-wide setting? Because I think that it is, I just know if we go back and look and people are like, well, it doesn't say it has to be for the entire consortium. So I think we should just tack that on to the end.
Okay, so then the motion is to require to not enable due date display in BiblioCore for all CCS libraries. Is anyone going up for making the motion?
I'll make the motion to require not to enable due date display in BiblioCore for all CCS libraries or at the system level.
Yep, at the system level. So we've got a motion from Anastasia. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Kelly will second. All those in favor say yay.
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 All those in favor or against say nay. All right, then that has passed. So that will be then the system-wide setting that there will be no due date display in BiblioCore. So someone can, we'll have to break that over to is it Glenview? I'm sorry.
Evanston.
Evanston.
I'm sorry.
Which I think Kelly will probably
Kelly's
break
here.
it.
Yeah.
She's here. I don't know if we want to send her to be the bearer of bad news or anything.
I know. That. They'll be like, what?
We'll have to suppress her vote or something like that. All right.
We'll definitely touch base with the library before we ask BiblioCore to like implement any system-wide changes too. So
yes, and Miyako has been in touch with both Glenview and Evanston on these items, getting their feedback on them. So some of this shouldn't really be a surprise.
All right. So our next item on the agenda is a decision on displaying hold and copy counts in BiblioCore. So I will turn it over to Miyako.
I'm coming back to my slides. Hopefully that is displayed. I feel like there's a little bit of a lag with Zoom. Okay. Great. So the decision on displaying hold and copy counts in BiblioCore. So this is really more of a holdings summary. BiblioCore can display a summary that includes the total number of copies, the available copies, the on-order copies, and the holds on a title page. So for physical materials, like in the screenshot, these counts reflect holdings and availability system-wide. When we're looking at e-content, the holds and copy counts are scoped to the BiblioCore site the patron is using, right? So for this one, we are really talking just about those physical materials. Again, this is a display that can be configured by site. CCS recommends either displaying or suppressing the feature at that system level for the consistent patron experience. And both of our existing BiblioCore libraries do display the hold and copy count summary. So this is available right now in both Evanston and Glenview BiblioCore. While we don't have an exact one-to-one precedent for this in the PAC does feature a copy summary in the brief title view. And during a 2019 user experience study, 73 participants did interact with that brief display to determine availability. So with our user testing, we do have some evidence that this is a highly referenced statistic. So it is a very brief overview that I have. I will turn it back to the group for questions and discussion.
All right, thank you. Any comments, questions, concerns regarding displaying hold and copy counts in BiblioCore? And again, this would be looking at it as a system level decision.
Deborah and Mieko, I have a question on the e-content piece. Because we have so many different Overdrive consortia in CCS, I understand that it's scoped to the individual library. Will it show then both general and advantage collections for each individual library then and only show that? I don't know if that makes sense.
Take this with a huge grain of salt because
Sure.
I feel like we still need to really wrap our minds around how this works. From what it looks like, it will include both. And I don't know if Kelly has more information from the back end, if you've been involved with that you are able to share.
Sorry, I have not, especially since we left the Digital Library of Illinois.
That's right.
So our own e-content has been a little wonky.
So I will say this, like I know CCS, we need to learn a lot more about how the e-content works and displays in BiblioCore. So we might not have a solid answer for you until a little later in the process.
That's fair.
But Mieko, just to clarify, as it stands, we believe that does display both Advantage copies and then consortia-wide copies for like Overdrive and Cloud Library.
Correct.
And then just to also clarify, because it's been a few months since all the demos, and if we suppress this, which I know is not the recommendation, but if we were to suppress this, there would be no numbers that anyone could see anywhere, right? This is the only spot that there are any holdings, like now where it has, Northbrook, 1 of 10 and rest of the libraries 5 of 50 or whatever. It would not show anything. This is the only place, is my understanding, that would show any numbers.
That is my understanding too.
Okay.
My
staff felt,
the
sorry,
patron
Mark.
could count. They could count the number of items in the availability, the location, but that is that's a lot to have to do that. And sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. I certainly see no problem in doing the number of copies and the copies available in on order. The hold issue, of course, could be is slightly less complicated than the due dates, but has its own tricks. Like as Kate mentioned, Northbrook doesn't even tell people where they are on the hold list. But I would have absolutely no problem with the top 3. If everybody thinks the hold is fine, then whatever.
My staff felt strongly, the feedback I got from all my public service departments was that we should suppress, which I was surprised because I was like, yeah, because again, I'm like, more information. That is how I have always been though. I also don't know if we can say like make a decision now, but then I know that when like this is all the things we're going based on the information we have, which might not be complete, but could we say we're going to do it for the first year this way, and then we're going to revisit it to make sure that this was the right decision and like make a plan to actually revisit and check in and make sure it's working as we're hoping in the future? Not to create more work for CCS or for database management, but I feel like that's another way if we feel like we don't know enough to fully decide.
I see Kelly's hand up. So
Yeah, I just wanted
before
to
we
get some
reply to Kate,
I just wanted to get some clarification on this one, specifically on the holds. My understanding is that it's a hold count, so like how many people have it on hold, but not necessarily where someone is in the queue. Okay, so I
that's
feel like
absolutely
this would be
correct.
helpful for book clubs because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you'll have a book club who picks like the most popular book in the world. And then it's like, I wish I could help you get 20 copies of, in this case, the latest Dan Brown. But as you can see, there's so many on hold versus how many copies. I think this would be useful for times like that. So large organizations or book clubs could maybe pick a popular book that's less popular and you don't have to deal with trying to figure out how to get them so many copies. But I do understand Northbrook not telling people where they are in the queue because that does mess up. And the queue is not a proper queue. You will be 8 one day and then 15 the next. And explaining how you rise and fall in the queue ends up explaining how CCS works on the back end. And very few people truly understand that anyway.
Yeah, really the only problem with the hold count is that it probably gives you a false idea of how long you'd have to wait if you're planning to hold on it. That's really the only
True.
problem.
If anything, I think it makes you feel like you might wait longer sometimes because I don't know about you, but I'll have people come and they'll like pick up 5 holds and then decide 3 they don't want.
Or you have people like, I'm a super fast reader. Like I will pick up a hold, and because I know, especially for popular stuff, I will try to get it turned around in a day or two. So I'm not keeping it the 3 weeks. And then there are other people that keep it overdue, right? So I don't know if that all balances out.
I
If only
know.
we could take off the hold piece, it feels like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wish it wasn't like an all or nothing sort of thing because I think the copy counts and on order are really important. But I know at our library anyway, our patrons seem very hold resistant. A lot of them really don't like to place holds. And, we try to tell them, if you don't put it on hold, you're not going to get it because it's going to be a year before it's on the shelf, like just when you can find it. So, my concern is that people would see that hold count and see that number is huge and say, oh, no way, I'm not even going to bother placing it on hold, not paying attention to the fact that, well, there's 400 copies. They'll just kind of ignore that part. So, the hold number concerns me just because of how that will look to patrons, but I don't think we could go without the copy counts because I feel like that's really important.
I am actually for the hold on here that counts, just because if I was a person putting a lot of items on hold, and I'd be like, oh gosh, all these are going to be some time. I better browse the shelves because if I'm thinking I'm going on vacation next week, none of these are going to come in or something like that. So I like having at least, I feel like it gives them a crumb, some type of crumb of an idea, a nugget of an idea of when they might get it. It's not going to be in the next 2 to 3 days, as if it was on the shelf. It gives a little more idea than if we go with the suppressing of the queue, where they are in the queue. This at least gives them an idea that there's going to be some wait, and that you might want to, if you're looking for something right now or something in the next that you think you're going to get in a week, it most likely won't be that. So I'm not as strong on not needing the hold. I know it's an all or nothing, but I don't see as much concern with it because I think it does give some information.
don't know, I feel torn, I guess. At first I was like, yeah, it could be helpful, but I do think it kind of leads back to the whole queue conversation for me. And for me, I feel like it's kind of the opposite, like where I talk people down where they're freaking out. They're like, I'm number 420 on the holds queue, like I have to order more things. But if I look, at the Park Ridge holds and the Park Ridge copies, like you might be getting 1 in 2 weeks. So I feel like just again, like it not being accurately reflected is just not useful, just from my experience. So I guess I'm kind of torn about this one.
I don't know if anyone else has looked at holds. And I haven't looked at it probably in 2 years, but I do know that I was surprised by, because I'm a heavy hold user. Even though I'm here every day, I'm like, oh, I forgot to grab that. I'm gonna just put it on hold. Jessica, please don't tell Kim that. So, not to make staff do extra work. But I also know that we have probably almost 70% of our items checked out. This was as of 2 years ago. I haven't looked at the numbers since then, were from browsing and not from holds checkouts. So now, whether or not that means that people don't, because they're like, oh, well, I found it, or I just found something else, or I didn't know what I was looking for. There's a whole lot of, but I know that for us at Northbrook, and I don't know if that is true across the board. Like, Sam, I'm really curious that your patrons don't like to place holds. Like, that's like, what? We find that's true in youth services. We don't find that's true in adult. And so then knowing that, I could also argue that like, oh, it would be really helpful to know this, because then you could say like, if you don't, put it on hold, you're never going to get, because like, look, but if you do, you're going to move up because we have 10 copies, and you can kind of educate them that way. So I'm torn because my staff very much kind of were like, one person thought it was a good idea, but everyone else is like, I don't know. But I feel like knowing that we can't have a copy and how many are available in order anywhere else, that feels like really important.
I think
and I do actually have some data on browsing checkouts versus hold checkouts. It's a little bit outdated, but this group back in 2022, for those of you who were on the committee at that time, we worked on the resource sharing policy. And as part of that, we gathered a ton of holds data. So at the time that we looked at this in 2021, 72.5% of checkouts were from browsing, and 27.5% of checkouts were from holds. So the vast majority of patron checkouts are coming from browsing, picking up an item off the shelf, not resulting from a hold. Again, we've got like a quarter of checkouts coming from holds. So if that is helpful to the group when thinking about, net value of displaying item availability versus displaying holds, that might be helpful data.
And I think it kind of comes down to, since it's an all or nothing on those displays, is your feeling about the holds strong enough to sacrifice your feelings about the other 3 items?
Yeah, for me, on balance, the other 3 values are much more important than not having holds. So I'd say, yeah.
It's the same for me as Mark just said. I feel like I could do without the holds, but the others are too important to forgo.
I think it almost becomes like a teachable moment for patrons where you give them that brief glimpse into like the confusion of the hold queue and how it's not going to be linear. You're going to move up and down. And also like, yes, 464 looks like a lot, but trust me, it moves so quickly. Please just hold on there.
I mean, in a way, too, it demonstrates the benefit of being in a consortium. Like maybe your library only has 2 copies, but because we share, there are actually 299 copies that you have a chance of getting.
That's a good point.
And this shouldn't play into the decision making, but one thing I did think about was from an advocacy perspective, especially with the e-content, because that is something we're trying to educate our legislators and communities on, of the cost, being able to see and be like, oh my gosh, they have 40 copies of, Secret of Secrets, and each of those was $100. Like, oh my gosh, like I think that also is a really like immediately impactful thing, which is not a reason to do it, but if we did do it, I feel like that would be a really awesome talking point to be able to have. Leslie, can I make a motion?
Yeah.
If people feel, it feels like I'm going to make a motion to require display of hold and copy counts in BiblioCore for all CCS libraries.
All right. So Kate put a motion out on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mark seconds. All those in
And should
favor
I-
say.
I'm just gonna pause for a second. Should we do roll call votes? Like if we feel it's not unanimous, or do you, Kate and I'm looking to Kate and Leslie, or is it should we
You
just
can
do
always
voice
do a roll
votes?
call vote per Robert or, Bob's rules of orders. You can always do that. So technically for OMA, which we technically don't have to comply with, you only have to do it for financial matters. But I think, yeah, because we weren't maybe 100% in lockstep, that could be a good idea.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd say maybe for the ones where we're not all on the same page, maybe we'll do a roll call vote just so we can have that documented.
Okay.
I would recommend, I'm sorry, Leslie, I would recommend if we are doing that we don't always start with whoever is going to be at the top. I forget.
Which on my list is Kelly. So
Evanston,
okay, I
yeah.
don't want to put
Kelly,
the pressure on Kelly.
Like we could just choose. And so typically what we've done
Random.
sometimes in governing board is whoever makes the motion, you start with them and then it just cycles. So it's different each time. Just to make things.
All right, I can call the
confusing.
roll, but Anastasia,
Sorry, Deborah.
I see you wanted to say something. No, I have watched Beth so many times. She's got it down, so I can do that.
Thank you. I just had two questions because I don't use the catalog as much as LEAP. So right now we just show copies available, right? Like number of copies. And for this decision, we have to include the number on hold. We can't disable just that piece of data, right? Okay, thank you.
All right, we've got our motion to require display of hold and copy counts in BiblioCore for all CCS libraries. So I'll call the roll. And we'll start, like Kate suggested, with the person who made the motion, which was Kate. So Kate?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Anastasia?
No.
Mark?
Yes.
Was that a yes, Mark, or a no?
It was a yes.
Yes, okay. Kelly?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Georgia?
Yes.
And Jessica?
Yes.
All right, the motion carries.
Thank you. All right. This one based on our conversations, might bring up a lot already. So this is then the decision on displaying hold position in BiblioCore. This decision is either going to go real fast or we're going to have a lot to discuss. I know this is probably one of the bigger ones that has a lot of people thinking. So we'll hand it over to Nicole.
Yeah. Okay. So this kind of piggybacks off the last few things we've been talking about, where this is specifically a display setting that shows the patron's hold queue position. So once the user places a hold, the request will appear in the record on hold page. So by default, the on hold page will include the user's position in the queue, as well as the number of circulating copies. So as we kind of all know, the display does not consider things like item hold settings, right? So the 299 copies you see here includes like those non-holdable hot copies. It does not consider like prefer my patron policies. while this display can be configured by site, we are recommending we either display or suppress the feature at the system level for a consistent patron experience. Both of our existing BiblioCommons libraries do currently display hold queue position. So this is another one we don't have existing user experience testing to look at since the Power Pack does not display a user's queue position. So again, Deborah pulled the pass group. This one was slightly more split than the due date poll. We had around 21% of respondents saying that we should display the hold queue position, 79% of respondents saying we should not. So some comments in favor of displaying the hold queue position includes that it's something the patrons frequently ask about. It will help them understand how long it will be until they get the item. The library's app already displays the queue position. And patrons will always feel like it's a bonus when it comes more quickly due to local copies and policies. And then comments against displaying the hold queue position include that like in a consortium environment, as we were just talking about, there are too many factors that don't make that number feel accurate to the patron. It's misleading because there's additional context that isn't readily available to the patron. One library, it's their policy not to share the patron's place in the hold queue because there's been too many problems in this past with an arbitrary number. One other thing I do want to share on this, so as CCS staff were testing placing holds over the past week in preparation for the technical group discussion, we also noticed that the queue position, it needs a little time to adjust to a system level. So when the hold is initially placed, it will just count local copies like you see on the screenshot on the left. And then after some activity or several refreshes, the count will adjust to look at like all system copies, which is the screenshot on the right. We did check in with the BiblioCommons team to see if this is a bug, but it sounds like this is anticipated behavior and it needs just a little bit of time to kind of kick in and count everything in the consortium. So I will again stop sharing and turn it back over to Leslie for discussion and questions.
All right. Questions, concerns, comments regarding sharing or suppressing or sharing the hold positions? I know this is something that, as long as I've been in CCS, this has been always a topic. And I know our current is not to display. So there would not be a change of taking that away from the patrons. They would be adding that as a feature to the patrons if we wanted to. So I'll turn it over to everyone else.
Can I ask a clarifying question before we talk about how people feel? Because I thought I understood, but then you said something, Mieko, and so now I just want to make sure my understanding is accurate. We can turn it on at a local level. That isn't what you guys are recommending, but we could turn it on site by site, but it would still show total holds in the system and total copies. It would not at any point, there is no functionality, which is what I thought was the case, to show holds on Northbrook items just for Northbrook patrons. Is that accurate?
Your understanding is correct. It will always report system wide. It is not able to
after
scope
those
to a single
refreshes.
site.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't misunderstand. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone? Strong feelings about this one?
Because my feelings are, I don't know about strong, but I feel pretty strongly, I guess, about not displaying that. I mean, we've had patrons scream at staff because they thought they were one number on the hold list and then suddenly it changed. And it is just not worth the hassle to me. And my department and other public services departments feel the same way.
We have situations where staff in one department looks at it in one way, and then the other staff looks at the other way. And of course, then the patron's getting the wrong information, and then they get very angry. And then, of course, they come to CERC or patron services and they yell at us. So,
Mhm.
we're not for it. I'm not for it. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good training opportunity for our library. I feel like, some new staff don't really understand how the holds queue works. And they'll be like, okay, well, you're number 555 on the holds queue. And then they come downstairs and they're just livid. And then we do our little procedure and we're like, no, it's actually much better. You're number 20 on 10 copies. So you might have in 2 weeks. So um, it would be really awesome if this, took into consideration our policies, but it doesn't. So I just feel like it causes more harm than good for the patron. And again, this is what the patron's seeing. We're still going to have access to this information as staff members. So I think that's also like an important thing to keep in mind. So I'm definitely against it. I just think it's going to cause a disservice to our patrons because again, it's not accurate.
I'm curious, is anyone here against suppressing it? Or are we all just like, no, it's too confusing?
Too confusing.
too confusing.
Yeah, agreed. Okay,
I
good to
think
know.
hearing that the PAS group is 80%
Yeah.
is in favor of suppressing, and those are the ones that are working directly with the patrons. I'm sure the numbers would be similar if we were to pull the CERC ILL
Well,
group.
and Kelly, I know Evanston is showing it. I'm curious what your experiences have been because it's not like you're showing it. I mean, you're still in the consortium, so it's showing everything, which I think would be really confusing.
So for the people it seems to matter the most for, it's for our hotspots.
Ah,
In which case it's more accurate because it's only for Evanston
'cause it's
residents and only owned by
yeah.
us. But even then, if we have to put some on hold internally to fix or for
Right.
internal usage, they drop down the queue and it becomes again the whole explanation and education and the back and forth. So yeah.
That's helpful. Thank you.
I'll make a motion then
Okay.
to require suppressing hold position display in BiblioCore at the system level.
Okay. Anastasia made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Seconded by Georgia. Do we just want, for the sake, just to then do roll call for the rest of the votes, Deborah?
Sure, there's only 9 of us. I'll
Okay.
just
All right.
do roll call.
All
All right, Anastasia,
Yes.
Yes.
Mark, Kelly,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Georgia,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
All right. Thank you. The next item is decision on enabling parental consent for minors under 13 for those that want to post to the community reviews. So we'll let Miko, do you have something for this one as well?
I do, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Head back to the slides. So some background on this topic. In BiblioCore, users are able to rate and add free text reviews to titles. Reviews from all BiblioCore customer library patrons and staff will display in the review section. So, if a Toronto Public Library patron posts a review, it's going to appear in the From the Community section on ACCS library site and vice versa. So as you see in the screenshots, the patron's BiblioCore username appears with the review. The username is hyperlinked. If you click it, it will take you to a profile where you can view the user's public content. So they may include things like the reviews they've posted, title lists that they've created. So internationally, there are no restrictions to posting content based on age. In the United States, minors under the age of 13 are restricted from posting free text reviews unless the COPA compliant parental consent tool is enabled, like in the screenshot. So what's different from this than our previous topics, this is what they call a parent level setting, meaning it can only be enabled or disabled at the system level. So any setting changes would automatically apply to all CCS libraries. Another thing that we discovered when preparing for today was that if you are under the age of 13, the username is somewhat controlled. So you will have, let me get my little laser pointer here. You will have, your username will need to be a color, animal, and number like it has in the screenshot here. So this will prevent kids from using something like their real name as their username. I will say both Glenview and Evanston do not have parental consent enabled. So minors under the age of 13 are currently not able to post reviews on their sites. So this was something that CCS was not able to directly test when preparing for the meeting today. So unfortunately, that is kind of like all the information I have for you at this moment. I will take whatever questions you have. And if we don't have the information now, I'll see what we can find out later.
I'll actually going to turn it over to Kate first because she had sent some comments that she had regarding some of the COPA compliance.
Yeah, so I emailed Deborah and Leslie because I felt that I could not make a decision on this. And I at that point I had not gotten staff feedback yet, which I'll be honest, the staff feedback had brought up some of the same concerns I had, which is parents technically don't have the right to any of their child's data. So what will that do in terms of the Library Records Confidentiality Act? And so I felt that if this was something that we wanted to do, we would need to talk to the attorney and find out what, limitations or risks there are and determine that way. So I personally I don't know how many under 13-year-old kids are going to be chomping at the bit to write a review for an online catalog, but I don't know. Maybe someone decides that they want to start doing a YouTube channel writing reviews on library materials and posting about it. I do think that there are some risks from a patron confidentiality aspect of doing this. And so based on Illinois laws. So I don't know, Leslie, I know that wasn't super specific, but basically I think that if we want to do this, we shouldn't decide today. We should, if we do want to do it, we should get more information from the attorney. And if we don't want to do it, then we don't have to. So
my thoughts are, oh, sorry.
No,
I thought it was interesting that internationally it's not a law except in the United States. So I thought that was kind of interesting. My question, I know this is kind of part 2 of this decision, but for me, I'd be interested in learning more about what that procedure looks like if we enable this. And would the parent really have access to the child's reviews, or is it just giving consent that they can do that?
If there's anyone else who wants to say something before I share my screen again, I can just kind of jump forward a few slides and kind of show you what those parental consent options would look like. Okay, so if parental consent is enabled, there are 2 potential consent methods, online consent and an offline consent. Here's the summary of both methods. So with the online method, the consent is given through the parent's BiblioCore account. So the parent would need to log in, review kind of like all the formal details, and then they would digitally approve the consent. Alternatively, like the child can ask to have those instructions like emailed to their parent. The offline method requires library staff with the appropriate BiblioCore admin permissions to like manually record consent. And that could include printing and signing a consent form, giving it to the library, calling the library, or working with staff like one-on-one at the library. I would say, if we get to this point and we're like, oh, the offline method of consent sounds interesting, I think we would need to have some additional discussions on like what standards for library staff should use for accepting consent. What I understand of what the parent has access to is that they would be able to see their child's activity. So they would be able to see the reviews.
I would think if reviews, as you mentioned, if profiles are clickable, if you know what your child's login name is, that would be pretty easy to bring up everything that they reviewed. Heck, if you knew what your neighbor's child's login name was, you could bring up everything they reviewed.
Correct.
And I know we're not talking about part 2, but one other thing to consider if we do decide to move forward or think about this more, if we were to do an offline method, which I would not be in favor of if we did decide to move forward, we also have to consider records retention aspects and how that would work both for online and offline. But offline, I really don't want to have another piece of paper that I have to maintain. Sorry. I know we're like, that's way, way ahead, and we might not even need to talk about that, but I'm just going to put that out there.
I don't think kids want to review books online, at least on, like, it's hard enough to get like an 8-year-old to use the catalog, much less write a review. And I think it's a lot of privacy issues, a lot of extra hoops for very little payoff. So I would say don't allow it.
I agree. And I think that we can always revisit this if we start having people be like, well, my kid really wants to, or, oh, we're going to start a book review club at the library and we want the kids to all be able to. Like, there's nothing that says in the future if something changes, we can't go back and change this. But it seems like all indication is that this is not something that is in high demand or would even be heavily used. And it would be a lot of procedures to set up for our 30+ libraries.
I was to say it's something they don't do right now, and we don't hear outcrying about that. I don't imagine that we are going to hear outcrying that, yeah, my kid can't, or I want to write reviews, Yeah, you might get that one precocious kid who does, but there's other avenues for them that they can explore for that type of, that through like Goodreads or other types of Goodreads like
exactly.
items. And I know some of their school catalogs have that option where they're already dealing with the COPA and the SOPA, stuff that we don't have, we wouldn't have to deal with for, as Carly said, for very little payoff. I don't know how many people will take into account a review written by a child, are they going to really give you a great review that's going to sway you one way or the other?
Can I just ask a question, like Deborah, Mieko, how does BiblioCore know that the user is under 13?
It would reference the birth date field in our database.
I don't have a strong. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Anastasia. No, you go. Mine is not a non sequitur.
I don't really have a strong feeling either way, but I could see now that this is going to be available to adults, that people may be more interested in it. I guess I'd be kind of interested just in a stat of like another consortium that has this feature turned on, what percentage of those under 13 are using it, but I don't have like a really strong opinion either way. Just like how my brain works, I'm just trying to figure out how the parent would have access to that. Is it going to send them that child's username after? Because I mean, like in association, we have set up in Leap now, but that person has permission to pick up their holds, but they're not going to have permission to see their account. So I'm more just curious about, I mean, I know Mako shared that they would probably be able to see that, but I was just curious how that works. But like I said, I don't have a strong opinion either way.
Leslie, I'm going to make a motion to do not enable parental consent to allow minors under 13 to post community reviews.
All right, so Kate put the motion out there. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Kelly seconds. So Deborah for roll call.
Kate,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Anastasia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Georgia,
Yes.
and Jessica.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We will
All right.
not enable reviews for minors.
And if you have an outcry, you just document that. We'll look at in there. So that allows us then to skip a decision on enabling parental consent methods. So then we will move on to then the next agenda item, which is a recommendation on the header image link. So we're moving to now functionality of the catalog, the user usage there. So Miko, we'll let you get started for that one.
Yeah. And I will say this is our first recommendation. So this is something where libraries will still choose where they want their header image to link to, but we will provide guidance for what we feel is like the best practice. So just like in the Power Pack, a BiblioCore site header image is linked. Generally, this links to the catalog homepage or the library's website homepage. So for sites that use BiblioWeb, the website and their core site, they're so integrated and uniform that the user can pretty seamlessly continue the browsing experience, no matter where, if this header image links to the website or to the Discovery homepage, right? Both have a very integrated design. However, for non-Biblio websites, linking to the library's website can really take the user out of that searching or browsing experience. Since the Power Pack header image also supports a link, we do have user experience testing that we can pull from on this topic. So we performed testing in both 2019 and 2021. The outcome both times was to recommend that the catalog header image links to the header image links to the catalog homepage. And there were really two patron behaviors that were called out in this recommendation. So the first one is the patrons, they struggled to determine which button would reset the catalog so they can start a fresh search. So the outcome was that linking the library logo to the catalog homepage would simplify navigation. Second, the patrons also tended to use it when they were trying to exit their My Account page. So they would attempt to navigate away from their account information by clicking on the library logo. So based on previous user experience testing, our recommendation would be for the header image to link to the BiblioCore homepage, which mirrors our recommendation with the Power Pack. However, we do want to specify this recommendation be for non-BiblioWeb customers because the experience is so different if you use BiblioWeb as your website homepage. I hope I hope that overview made sense for that functionality.
Any questions or comments, concerns? And again, this is a recommendation. This would not be a requirement for all libraries to follow. It would just be CCS's recommendation on how to configure your catalogs page. I just, from my own experience, like going to Amazon or pretty much any shopping site, to go to the logo to reset the page. I think that's just a very much a learned behavior that we've all learned over the years of using websites. So it makes sense to me that would be the recommendation.
We're moving to BiblioWeb, so we have no skin in this game. So we are going to go with whatever the people that aren't going to BiblioWeb want to do. And I think because it's a recommendation, not a requirement, that also to me makes it a lot easier.
Seems like it's a reasonable recommendation.
And there's still an option to link your homepage, right? Like how it is.
I mean, or we could just say everyone should just go to BiblioWeb. Just kidding.
Increase that discount rates.
Yeah, exactly. That's my hope.
Is there anyone who feels strongly that CCS should not make this recommendation? All right. Then do we have a motion to recommend the site header images linked to the site's BiblioCore homepage for non-BiblioWeb users?
So moved.
All right. Moved by Kate. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Was that Sam?
Sam, yep.
Yep. Okay, Sam. All right. Seconded by Sam. Deborah, if you want to call roll call.
Sure. Kate, you've got to stop making motions.
I know. I'm sorry. People need to just make a motion because we still have like 4 more. So I'm just trying to move us. My answer is yes.
Okay. All right. We got Kate, Carly.
Yes.
Anastasia.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Georgia.
Yes.
And Jessica.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right.
Excellent.
Then, right, that motion carried. So then our next item is the decision to include Find More Illinois as an additional resource on the catalog.
Okay. So in the BiblioCore Discovery layer, libraries have the option to link up to 4 external resources. And these additional resources will display in 3 areas. First, they will appear at a panel at the end of your search results, as well as in a no results found page. And that is what the screenshot on the left shows. And the links will appear in the same way in both pages. The links also appear in the search header, which is the screenshot on the lower right. So in all 3 locations, the link would be able to do a pass-through of the search terms if you are linking out to an external catalog. We have asked libraries for 3 additional resources in our surveys, and we've kind of potentially bookmarked that 4th link for Find More Illinois. And this would, of course, be pending the governing board's February 2026 vote to continue with the program. So the question we are asking today is if all libraries should include Find More Illinois as one of their additional resources.
All right. Thank you, Miko. So this is a recommendation or a decision we could make that could change depending on if the governing board decides to move forward with Find More or not. I know at the last governing board meeting, Rebecca was very encouraging for all libraries to really put Find More first after CCS, in searching in that way that we could truly understand if it is a viable resource for us to move, so we could move more away from OCLC. If that's really what we want to be doing as a consortium, then we need to, kind of put it first on our home, out there. We can't bury it and then expect patrons to see it. But here is the time to discuss this.
Can I add a little more context on the OCLC piece, Leslie, if that's okay? Because I don't know how in the weeds any of you are in your role at your different libraries, but one of the main reasons that we voted to go with Find More, which was a very contentious vote at the governing board meeting, was to try to find a way to decouple ourselves from OCLC. OCLC for the past 40 years has not changed the pricing. And so some libraries are being vastly overcharged, some libraries are being undercharged. CCS evens the playing field for that. So we don't feel that as much as the other libraries in the state do that aren't. But OCLC has a stranglehold on the state library. And until we have a viable alternative for ILL, which is what Rails tried with having Find More, we're not going to be able to say like, okay, we can move away. And so the hope is, and this is a long-term hope, this isn't like okay, we fixed it in 2 years. It is can we build a system that eventually would allow us to move away from OCLC in terms of our ILL? Because OCLC, even though they're a not-for-profit, they behave as a for-profit entity and they have very low transparency. It has been very problematic for the entirety of my time in libraries, which is a quarter century. And so my feeling is that we should be pushing Find More as much as possible, not because it's a superior product right now, but for the potential of what could be if we all get on board and get everything pushing in this way. I know that might not be where everyone is at, but I wanted to give a little background on what the hopes are with OCLC long term. Thanks,
I'll
Leslie.
add a little bit of additional context as well. So for all of our member libraries now in PowerPack, we do require that link out to Find More Illinois on the No Results Found page. So currently in PowerPack, your library is already linking out to Find More Illinois if the patron runs a search that generates no results. So this action or this vote item is on here to sort of codify that in BiblioCore as well if we decide to continue on with our Find More membership, which, as Mieko mentioned, that vote goes up to governing board in February of 2026. So we don't know yet if we'll continue on in the program. But if we do, we're asking this group to again, like reaffirm that we should be linking out to the resource that we're providing to our patrons through BiblioCore. So to echo what Kate said.
Yeah, I feel like as long as we are enrolled in Find More Illinois, we need to be doing everything we can to push it to the patrons, make it prominent and easy for them to use.
I'll make a motion to require including Find More Illinois link with additional resources at the system level.
I'll second.
Second, motion by Anastasia and seconded by Mark.
All right, I'll call the roll. Anastasia?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Georgia?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
And Carly?
Yes.
Beautiful. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. We're on to the next one, the search box default display.
Okay, I'm hoping the next couple ones are going to be pretty simple decisions. starting with the search box default display. So the BiblioCore, their main search box, can either be displayed as always open, like in the top screenshot, and this just exposes the search options and text input, no matter where you are at in the catalog or what you're doing. Or it can be displayed in a collapsed model, like in the bottom screenshot. And here the patron needs to click on the search, where it says search, to kind of open, and you can see where the input is. This is another setting that can be configured by site. CCS recommends, again, requiring a system standard for a consistent patron experience. Both Evanston and Glenview do use the extended display. And user experience best practices recommend having an expanded search box. This saves the user a click when they want to do a search. So that is all kind of the context and background I have on that one. So I will right away pass it back to you, Leslie.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns about the search box default display? Otherwise, if there's nothing pressing and we are good with the motion as recommended by CCS, someone can go ahead and make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right. Sam is making the motion to require expanded search box display setting for all CCS libraries.
I'll second.
Seconded by Anastasia.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the roll, starting with Sam.
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Georgia?
Yes.
Jessica? Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Anastasia?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Kelly.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
All right. The next item with the how the catalog looks is regarding the menu style.
Yes, this one is a design decision. BiblioCore offers two styles to the drop-down menu navigation. You have a full width option, like the screenshot of Evanston on the left, and you have a column option, like the screenshot of Seattle Public Library on the right. So the full width option expands the menu plane to fit the width of the entire page, and the column option limits the menu plane to just the width of a single menu dropdown. So this menu area here, libraries have not yet seen this in the configuration surveys. This is a setting, so the items in the configuration setting are the things that BiblioCore needs to set up on their back end. These menu areas that you see here are things that the libraries will be able to set up on the staff admin side. So once we get into like that training and library prep stage, they will build these menus. Like a lot of our previous topics, the menu style, it can be configured site by site. We are recommending a system standard just for the consistent patron experience. And we are recommending using the full width menu. So when we're thinking about design considerations here, the full width would be able to support a broader range of site needs, regardless of the menu size. So full width would provide a comfortable viewing experience if you have a large number of menu items, but it does not create a bad user experience if you have fewer menu items. So when looking at what other sites do, most BiblioCore customers, including both Glenview and Evanston, use the full width style. So that is what I have for this topic. And I will stop sharing.
Do we have anything that shows on mobile? Because that is what the majority of our patrons are using. So like our staff are using desktop, but most of our patrons are not. And like I'm looking at Evanston's and
Yeah.
So it looks like it's a totally different one, but I just want to confirm that that wasn't a design decision for the mobile, because I want whatever it is to be mobile responsive, obviously, which I know Biblio is really good with that, but I just wanted to bring up the question.
That is a good question. I don't have any screenshots to share from a mobile view though.
Okay.
I'm on the Glenview app, the Glenview site on my phone, and it pretty much, the menu expands to the whole screen.
Yeah,
That's how it looks.
Same experience. I went to Evanston's, and yeah, when you hit the menu on a phone, it just fills the screen, which probably is just as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it just does the drop down. So this is only for
Yeah, it looks like both
desktop.
Yeah, it's only for desktop. It looks the same either way on mobile.
Yeah, I'm checking out Seattle's right now, and when I click to expand the menu, it can fill up the whole mobile screen.
I'm in favor of making the full wide width. I think it just makes a much cleaner view to see. Just looking at the two examples, you could lose the menu in all the images and text that is on the screen behind it, you know. So I think for people, they can really hone in on what they're searching for in the menu options and read the options of the menu.
I also think the one menu drop down just looks a little bit more dated now. Like that's just not what you're seeing.
Our library website uses the full width menu, so as far as I'm concerned, that's a more consistent user experience. And that's probably not true for everyone, but.
Mark, was that a motion? That sounded very close to a motion.
Sure, I'll make a motion that what was the exact wording here? That we require the full width menu style
for all CCS libraries.
For all CCS libraries.
Right. So we have a motion from Mark. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Oh.
Jessica seconds.
Yeah.
All right, Deborah.
Okay, Mark.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Georgia.
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
And Anastasia.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries.
All right. The last item we have is a discussion. This is regarding the scoping of the catalog when a user first interacts with it.
And just reset my screen here. So I'm gonna do a little. Actually, I do have a few slides. There we go. So I wanted to use what time we have left to have a brief demo and discussion on BiblioCore scoping, results scoping, just to kind of start prepping us for a future discussion. So some questions to just kind of think of back in the back of your mind here during the demo. Benefits and disadvantages for each scoping option that I'm going to show you. Should the default scoping be determined individually by each library? Should we have a uniform or system-wide default? And if scoping is determined by site, what would database management recommendations be? So let's talk about scoping. When we're talking about scoping, we're talking about how the search results are filtered by default. And one thing to keep in mind here, this is outside of in-house OPACs. because the BiblioCore can be configured with an in-branch location mode using IP addresses. So here we're really talking about like when the user is at home and searching, or on their, on their phone and searching. So there's like two scoping options that we can use. Option one is where the results will display all CCS holdings by default, and then the patron uses filters to narrow results down to local holdings. With option two, the results start out scoped to local holdings, and then the patron can use those filters to expand to all CCS holdings. So I'm going to pop over to one of the libraries here. And I'm just going to kind of show you what this all looks like. So I'm going to starting out in Glenview Public Library's BiblioCore site. And their default scoping is to limit to Glenview materials first. So when I do a search, the results are initially going to show what Glenview owns, right? So we have one of 550 results. Using the filters on the left-hand side, I can expand or narrow that scoping. So here, since we've started out scoped, I can expand to all partner libraries. And this will show me titles owned by all libraries. So now I'm back up to, 1,349 results. Another thing to note is that the filter options that display will adjust based on my scope. So if I expand this available at filter, I see a list of all CCS libraries as locations. If I change my scoping back to Glenview, that filter is going to narrow based on my scope. Same thing with other filters like format and languages. Just like filters, the format rollups are going to respond to the scope. So I'm going to look at this first bib here. Right now, I am scoped to just Glenview Holdings, so it is pulling in Glenview Holdings, and the rollups show two formats. I've got my Blu-ray disc, and I've got the DVD. If I expand to all partner libraries, the rollup will also expand my results to include the formats held by other CCS libraries in that rollup. So now I have the 4K Ultra HD edition of the Blu-ray. One thing to note, scoping does not change the way the availability of physical material displays. So if I am in Glenview's site, I click into this record here, that availability statement is going to show me, is not going to change whether I am scoped to Glenview or whether I am scoped to all CCS libraries. Let me go back to my search results here. Let me just make sure I am scoped to Glenview. Now, if I am scoped and I search a title that is not owned by that library, I will see a no results found page, and I am prompted to expand my search or try other resources. So again, if we are requiring that Find More Illinois link, they will see, link to Find More here to expand your search. This behavior is the same in the Power Pack if we are scoped or not. One behavior that is different here, let me go back. One behavior that is different than in the Power Pack is how the discovery layer manages e-content. So we briefly mentioned this kind of earlier on in the meeting. So in the Power Pack, e-content display is controlled by what Polaris calls resource groups. And this uses the e-content owner and the patron's registered branch to determine like what e-content to display to them. BiblioCore does not currently recognize the Polaris resource groups. So in BiblioCore, e-content scoping is based on whatever site we are currently scoped to. So if we are scoped to Glenview's site, we see what e-content they license and the availability display. So, Glenview licenses at least one copy of this ebook. I can see that all copies are in use. If I am a user and I'm scoped to Glenview, let me just look what title. If I am scoped to Glenview and I am looking, if I'm scoped to all CCS libraries, I will then also see what e-content all CCS libraries license. Since I am using Glenview's site, they do not license a copy of this book, Dark August, but my search scope is expanded, so I will see what e-content other libraries have. Because Glenview does not license this, I do not have an availability statement here. Those were the major parts of scoping that I wanted to show the group. We are almost at the end of meeting time. So I think there's a lot more we need to learn about how the site works. So I would love to take this opportunity for whatever questions you have, if there's anything that we can research for you ahead of our next meeting. And I see Anastasia's hand is up.
I was just curious if they tried to place a hold, would it just say block it at that point for the ebook? Because it says check availability and there's a place hold.
That's a good question. Let me log in right now. I do have a test user that is set up as a Glenview patron. And
While you're pulling that up,
go ahead.
can I ask another that might be an easy question? If we make a decision, are we able to have, I know right now we're recommending we do it for everyone, but would we be able to, for instance, have different scoping for in-house versus remote? Like we would love to be able to just scope on our OPACs for just local, and then for everything else, have it be system-wide in our dream world.
They do have an in-house mode, so it will use your library's IP address to automatically scope to your local holdings.
Okay.
And let me share my screen one more time just so I can show you what it looks like. So I'm logged in as a Glenview patron right now. And if I did go to try place a hold on this, I first see that it's not available, but then if I try to continue through, it tells me that it's not a valid card. And I saw Mark's hand was up, so. You're muted.
Yes, I was fighting with my spacebar. Okay. My question is, not exactly unique to me, but close to it. With a district with 2 branches or more, are 2 questions. Do you have up to 3 levels of scoping, or is it 2 levels of scoping? And if it's 2 levels of scoping, is the 1 level of scoping the district, or is it the individual branch?
Mm.
Well, correct. There are so few of them on our shelves correctly.
I feel like we did ask this question to Biblio Commons earlier. and I'm scared to answer because I'm like, I'm not going to remember correctly.
Yeah, you don't need the answer right now.
I think if we
That's
look at
my question.
Evanston, they have 2 branches. So
Yeah.
I believe they currently have the 2 levels, just Evanston, which would include both branches, and then partner libraries. What I don't know is whether there's a 3rd level available.
Okay. Yeah, that's the main question that pops to my mind.
There is not.
Well,
So, as someone who works at the branch for EPL, you have to click under availability and then it'll tell you which location.
Which is very similar to what we do now. Yeah. But I know that has always caused lots of confusion because people, I mean, we've lived with it, so we'll continue living with it. But yeah, people see available and they think that it's in the building that they're in, and it's not. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up too, the one thing that I'm concerned about are Library of Things items and other items that are only available to certain card holders. So I just happened to search Ghost Hunting Kit in Glenview's catalog, and when I scoped it to all CCS libraries, there's 12 options that come up, and it looks like I can place a hold on any of them, which I know is not true. And because we don't have language as catalogers that say that we have to identify each item as belonging to Northbrook, belonging to Winnetka, belonging to whomever, as a patron, you're just looking at 12 ghost hunting kits, and who knows which one to click on.
One of our staff is in the CCS Circuit Advisory Group, and I know that was a topic about naming the explanation or Library of Things items with the library name. And I thought that was such a great suggestion. And we had most of ours with Park Ridge, but we updated all of ours to say that. And I do think that's very helpful for staff, even just staff when placing holds, which I know is kind of a sidebar, but yeah, I think it's very helpful that Mieko shared that you can set up in-house searching by the IP address, because ours is filtered to Park Ridge items. And for me, I use Leap mostly for my, when I'm helping patrons, but I wonder if that's more to help librarians, because I feel like librarians use the catalog to search a lot, which I don't quite understand, because if you have to place a hold, you can't. But for me, I mean, I know we're not voting, but option 1 makes the most sense to me. And I think that's helpful, what Mieko shared about, in-house searching with the IP address.
Although it's not the main thing in my job, I do cover a desk 1 night a week, and actually I use the catalog. I use the public catalog most of the time, not Leap, for searching for people. And we have a generic password, override password. You can place a hold for someone. I have to look them up in Leap, but then I can paste their barcode and place the hold in.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I just wanted to say something. I don't know what's going on with my camera. But Palatine we currently don't scope to Palatine. So when our members search, they search everything. And it does increase the amount of people placing holds on bibs of items you might own that are on a different bib. So like Ted Lasso, people are placing holds on somebody else's copy of Ted Lasso, even though ours might be sitting on the shelf. And I think you might see an increase of that, some more blue bins, because people are not scrolling down in the catalog. They just place on hold whatever they see first.
So this is an item we were initially going to bring to this group to vote today, but decided we just didn't have enough information to be able to vote. So the plan with this item is that we are going to have another database management meeting to talk specifically about scoping once we have all of our sites set up. That way we can look at, obviously we have Evanston and we have Glenview, but we don't have all of our e-content in their sites to really see what it looks like when we've got the full catalog in BiblioCore. So we're going to have another meeting. It's probably going to be, Mieko, like February, March, to talk about this in detail and to decide if we want to recommend one of the options that Mieko presented to us. So as you're thinking about scoping and searching over the next couple of months, like store away all these examples and scenarios that you have. I think Mieko included in your packet that we have really strong user testing data that says patrons like to search all of CCS when they're looking for materials. But we know that you help patrons as well and maybe have some different perspective to working with patrons at the desk. So once we have our actual site set up, we're going to revisit this topic. So be thinking about it over the next couple of months. And once, again, we've got those sites, we're going to put together some more detailed information so that we can make a recommendation to the group. And in the meantime, again, reach out to Mieko or myself if you've got thoughts, opinions, feedback, or questions. If you have questions of like, how would this work? Send those our way that we can make sure that we have answers for you the next time we meet. Mieko, anything else to add? You did a great job moving us through this agenda, and you as well, Leslie. Like, we were spot on with time. I know we're a little bit over, but Mieko, anything else to add for the group?
Oh, I just want to say thanks everyone for like such thoughtful discussion and feedback. This was really helpful. Thank you.
This is amazing. I feel very fortunate to have such a great team of staff on database management this year as we're kind of working on these really important decisions for the catalog. So thanks to all of you for volunteering your time and your expertise. We appreciate you very much.
And thanks
Leslie,
to Deborah and Mieko for having everything together so we can have those thoughtful discussions. It's nice to have all the information ahead of time. So without any further items, then we will adjourn this meeting at 2:37 and then look forward to the next doodle poll for a meeting in potentially February or March. And everyone have a great holiday season.
Awesome.
Take
Thank
care,
you everyone
everybody.
so much.
Bye.
It was a great meeting. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank